Hello students, this is Dr. Henry and I'm your instructor for DAT 120, which is Office Administration for Dental Assisting. This video is part 3 of our look at the Dentrix appointment book. Hopefully you watched video 1 and 2, and now we're going to pick up right where we left off at the end of video 2. At the end of that video, we had set a holiday on December the 25th, and so we're going to pick up right where we left off. We scheduled a day off at the end of that video, and then we also scheduled a holiday so you could see the difference. But if you wanted to change or delete those particular days, or at least you wanted to delete the holiday, or you wanted to return it to where the office was open and running on that day, all you would have to do is just click the day, go back to the office close button, and then you would say delete holiday if it was a holiday, or you would say open office if it was just a closed day that we had for the office. Okay, I'm going to leave those particular holidays, so I'm going to say close, and we're back at the calendar. And so now we're going to move on to our next topic. And remember, for those of you who are taking notes, you want to make note of the topics that we're covering. The next topic we're going to cover is provider setup, and this has to do with the individual doctors, hygienists, or specialists that you have working at your dental office. Some of them may have work hours that are different from the office schedule. So currently our office is running 8 to 5. Monday through Friday, with the office being closed from 12 to 1, and then it operates from 8 to 2 on Saturday. Those were the changes that we made in an earlier video. But if you had a provider that didn't work on any Saturdays, or you had a provider who didn't work on any Mondays, you could set up a special schedule just for that provider. So we're about to walk through those steps now. So we would go back to this setup button. So you would click setup, and then you would go to the provider setup area. Remember, for those of you that are taking notes, this is another topic. So provider setup, you would click on it, and on the left, you're going to see a list of all the providers who have already been entered into this particular database. If you wanted to add or edit or delete a provider, you would have to do that through the Office Manager module. Depending on when you're watching this video or which class section or which class year you're watching this video, you may or may not have the Office Manager module covered in your particular class. However, that's okay. This is just as an FYI, you make those kinds of changes in that particular module. Each abbreviation represents a particular doctor. DDS1 is the main doctor for this dental practice, and it's Dr. Dennis Smith. I believe DDS2 is Junior, Dr. Dennis Smith Jr. So we have sort of like a family practice. So I'm going to just click DDS1. And if we wanted to set up a unique schedule for him that is outside of the office operating hours, this is where we would do that, and this is how. So we went to setup, provider setup. We made sure we were on the correct provider we wanted to change. We would click the setup button. And currently he's already operating outside of the norm. Now you may have this button checked already for him. He might be working with the particular office hours. I have done a lot of these trainings, so it could have been that I had a change somewhere along the way, but this is what it would have been set up as if he operates with the office schedule. And I'm just changing it. Yours should already be there, depending on which version you have. Whether you have the G7 version or the G4 version of the Dentrix Learning Edition, you should already have this set up. So I'm just trying to make it look like what you see on your screen already. So it should have popped open provider DDS1 Dennis Smith like this. So you would have had a default schedule, which by default it would have went to the days and times that the office already operates. Before we made that change in an earlier video to include Saturday, it was Monday through Friday from 8 to 12 and then 1 to 5. So if you click on each individual day, you should see that is what he has by default. It's just a FYI. So you can see that. So if we wanted to change something for him, so if he wanted to say, hey, I'll work a couple hours on Saturday, we could add Saturday. And if he says, hey, I'm only working 2 hours on Saturday, I'll come in from 10 to 12, we would note that here. So we would put in his start time. Let's say it's 10 a.m. and in at 12. Remember, currently our office is open from 8 to 2 on Saturdays is what we have. So we made the change for Saturdays, now included. And what if we wanted to say, because he works on Saturdays, he's no longer going to work on Monday. So we can just uncheck Monday. So here's where we can set up each specific provider schedule and when they're going to come in and not come in, because it may not match when the office is open. So keep that in mind. Also, time blocks are going to be covered in another video, but if the provider has a special meeting, or if they have a training, or if they have a presentation to do, or a consultation, anything, if it's something special, you can block out time for them on their schedule, and you would set those up here. I believe that's covered later in another video. We don't need an alias, so because he is DDS1 and we're not going to change anything related to that. But we could change his color, which I'm not going to. But if you click this little block and you wanted him to be a different color, you wanted to make a custom color, you could do that here. I'm not going to make any changes to that. We only changed his schedule. I'm going to click OK. And then it brings us back to here. And now another thing that we can do from the schedule, provider setup schedule, is if you know that he's going to be on vacation, for example, you can set that up here in the provider setup area under the schedule. So I'm gonna click schedule. And, some people are off for spring break, or, family vacation, whatever the case may be. Let's say that he's gonna take a vacation of, June 1st through the 5th or something like that. So we could click on the day, we could go to the options button, and let's say set vacation on that selected day, and we would do that for all the days that he's going to be on vacation. That way all the staff would know, hey, do not schedule any appointments for DDS1 Dr. Smith on that day because he's going to be out. I'm going to just click on a random day so that you can see this is his particular schedule or calendar, and the purple shading means that this provider is on vacation but the office is open. Okay, if the office was closed, it would be gray. If it was an office holiday, it would be pink. Remember, we covered that. So I just wanted you to see the difference in the colors. And because this provider doesn't work on Mondays, notice that there's a shading and no times noted. And notice the times we made for Saturday, they're here because this is this unique provider's schedule. So just keep that in mind. All right, so after we made our changes, I'm going to click close, but I'm going to try to note the days that he's not there. So we did June 1st through the 5th of 2021. So I'm going to say close, and then I'm going to say close. So our changes have been made, but because we are in the past, and we haven't tried to schedule an appointment, we don't know yet quite how that has impacted the appointment book, or if any notifications will let us know if we operate outside of that time. So what if one office person sets that up for him, and then another one is in charge of managing or making appointments for patients, and they may or may not know about that, and you have a patient call in and say, hey, I would like to see Dr. Dennis Smith on June the 1st. So we could skip to today and then forward all the way to June 1st, or we can click this little button in the top left called calendar, which is still not that much faster, but this will let us move at least month to month. So we're going to skip on over to June. And so we're going to go to June 1st and click OK. And because we're on day view, or I'm on day view, and we went past present day, and we skip forward to June 1st. And let's say we have a patient say, hey, I want to see Dr. Smith at 8 a.m., blah, blah, blah. So what we can do is set up an appointment. And in a later video, there's going to be a walkthrough of the different ways that you can do that. But because I'm talking about provider setup issues here so that you can see how it works, I'm going to just do a shortcut where I just double click the day and time that I want. So I'm on the day. I'm just going to choose operatory or exam room 1. I'm going to choose 8 a.m. and I'm going to just double click right there. And it's going to bring up the select patient dialog box. And depending on where you are, you'll probably have this blank and you won't even have a person come up. But I'm going to say, let's choose Carl Winters because we're here. But if you have nothing showing up, if you type in W, then all the patients with the last name W come up, and then you can select Carl from the list. Click OK. It now brings up an appointment information block for him. Okay, so some aspects have to be filled in and some don't for an appointment. You may or may not know the reason they're coming. For example, if it's a new patient, you don't know if they're coming for a cleaning or an emergency or something like that. So you may or may not know the reason of. If it's an existing patient and they're scheduling a continuing care, meaning it's time for their annual cleaning or their 6-month checkup or cleaning or x-rays or whatever, you could go here. But let's say we don't know any of that. So we're just going to put in a little description and we're just going to say emergency appointment. Let's say if we didn't know anything, we would need to definitely have a description for the appointment. And we are choosing DDS1, so that's already there by default. We're doing 8 a.m. We're doing the 1st. Now remember, we said that he's going to be on vacation this day. So let's see what happens when we try to schedule this appointment. So let's click OK. Notice this. This is what we want to see. Appointment book tells us, hey, this provider is unavailable at the requested day. Do you still want to schedule the appointment? Now, if you're a staff member and you see this, you're like, oh, no, I didn't know that Dr. Smith was off that day. So I'm going to say no. And then in a later video, it'll be options to show you how to search for available appointments in a different way. For this particular video, I just wanted you to see that once you set up a provider schedule, it is embedded in the appointment book, and there are notices that will help you to not violate those provider schedules. So I'm going to say cancel, and it did not schedule the appointment. For those of you taking notes, we're going to move to another topic, and this particular topic is flip tabs. And flip tabs are shortcuts to move forward or backwards a certain amount of time inside of your appointment book. And so I'm not sure if you can see my mouse, but on the far right-hand side, inside of this little gray area, which is called the pin board, this is where your flip tabs will live or be. So to set up a flip tab, we're going to go back to the setup button. We're going to go to flip tab setup, and we should now have this dialog box open. You can set up a flip tab in either of the view options, day view, week view, or month view. Just make sure you select the view you want to see that flip tab in, which means you could have multiple flip tabs in different views. So remember, I prefer to view the appointment book in day view. So I'm going to set my flip tab up here in day view. So my first flip tab, because you could have more than one, I'm going to do a 6-month flip tab. Many dental insurance providers allow patients to get a cleaning every 6 months. And so this is a regular or standard appointment that you might need to set for patients. So this is a good example of a flip tab. So I'm going to name it a 6-month flip tab. The text color of the flip tab, you can keep it black or you could change it by clicking this button. I'm going to choose red. And then I'm going to say, okay, so the text is going to be red for my flip tab. Now we can make some other designations. So the type of flip tab, if I click this drop down, my flip tab can be an absolute flip tab, which if I click here, absolute means it's tied to a specific day, a very specific date. And so I would set that up here if that's what I wanted. However, I believe that relative is much better because relative is going to have to do with where I am in the appointment book at the time versus being tied to a specific date. It'll actually do a specific number of days. And so let's say we want our flip tab to be the actual time of 6 months, which is 180 days. So I'm going to do 180 days. I want the direction of my flip tab to be forward, although you could choose backward. And I want it to be relative to the date that I'm looking at in the calendar, the displayed date versus today's date. So I'm going to choose that option. I'm going to click OK. And hopefully on the far right hand side over here, you can see my flip tab, and we're on June 1st. So if I wanted to skip ahead 6 months, I'll click it to see if it works. I click it. I have moved ahead to November 28th, which is 180 days away. And now this video is out of time. Thanks for watching. Bye.